As many of you will know, I'm a big fan of the Lexus GX. Of course, the original 470, but also this new 550. For over 2 decades, the GX has ruled the world by being one of the most reliable, off-road capable, and comfortable SUVs out there. Today, I not only wanted to show you around this all-new GX once more, but I also wanted to give you all the proper 550 experience. To give you that proper 550 experience, we won't only be taking this on the road, but we'll also be taking a field trip to one of my favorite trails down south and seeing about this Overtrail or not. So without further ado, grab a meal and a drink and let's get started, shall we? So my friends, this I bring to you on the soil of my county is the new Lexus GX 550. This one in particular is the 2024 Overtrail Plus in the earth color tone. The base price of a GX 550 Overtrail is about $70,000, but because this one is the Overtrail Plus and it has a plethora of options on it, this one, as it's sitting right next to me, has an MSRP of just under $83,000. Personally, if I was to get a GX 550, I'd get one in Nori Green. That's my dream 550. Now, because we're dealing with Toyota and Lexus, they're not messing around when it comes to an actual off-road trim level. Almost everything Lexus added to the Overtrail is meaningful in one way or another. First of all, these are sitting a little bit taller because they're on 33-inch all-terrain tires now and 18-inch alloy wheels that are specific to the GX Overtrail. Toyota and Lexus wanted to mention that for this J250 Land Cruiser, you can fit a 35-inch tire because of how big the wheel wells are. The Overtrail also gets KDSS, which is a kinetic dynamic suspension system. Essentially, it's an active sway bar, so it can allow for more wheel articulation when you're off-road. And thankfully, we will actually be seeing that later today. Of course, you also get steel skid plates that go all the way from the bottom of the engine to the gas tank, so this thing is shielded with armor. But most importantly, we have the addition of crawl control and multi-terrain select. They are essentially part of one of the best terrain management systems on the market, and Toyota's been doing this since the early 2000s with the early days of A-Track. This one has optional rock rails on it, so I don't have to worry about scratching the door sills today. If this Overtrail with its big tires and lockers and all isn't quite for you, thankfully Lexus does offer 4 other trim levels for the 550. For about $63,000, we start at the 550 Premium, then we have the Premium Plus, Luxury, Luxury Plus, and then the Overtrail and Overtrail Plus like this one. Nowadays, with options, you could get a GX 550 to almost $90,000. Aside from all this new stuff and new tech, the GX's farthest departure is the running gear because it no longer features a V8, of course, just like the GX 470. Nowadays, we've lost 8 cylinders, but we still have a boatload of power. It's a shocking amount of power. But again, no more V8. Nowadays, we have this engine that I actually do quite like. This is the V35 FTS. It's a 3.4 liter twin turbocharged V6. It's port and direct injected, of course. In this application, it makes 349 horsepower and 479 pound-feet of torque. Very healthy numbers, but again, if you want even more power and some more efficiency, Lexus will be coming out with that GX hybrid in a few months. These use full-time 4-wheel drive, and in this modern case, it has a 10-speed automatic transmission. Thankfully, it's a built in-house Toyota 10-speed. Of course, because this is a proper truck, it uses a 2-speed transfer case with the option of 4 high, which it's always in, and 4 low. Big PSA though, if you want to go into 4 low, put the GX in neutral before you shift into 4 low. You can also lock the center case so the GX is proper 4x4, and also I forgot to mention that this Overtrail has a locking rear differential as well. Besides emissions, the main reason that Toyota got rid of the V8s and the old GXs is MPGs. Thankfully, compared to the GXs of the past, this V6 is a tad more efficient. Lexus rates this at 15 in the city, 21 on the highway, and a combined rating of 17. As for this new GX Hybrid, I know it's useless what I'm saying, but I have no idea what MPGs that thing will get. This GX, as it's sitting, is sitting at 197 inches long, which actually makes it 9 inches longer than the original GX 470, but only 3 inches shorter than the current LX 600. Because of its 33-inch all-terrain tires, this GX 550 is sitting at 8.9 inches of ground clearance. It's not as much as you would think, but there's actually a very interesting video about why, and that'll be up here. And it's not from me. This has an approach angle of 26 degrees and a departure angle of 21 degrees and a breakover angle of 24 degrees. And for being a big and bulbous looking SUV on the outside, it's actually been very easy to turn in tight situations. Of course, with the new 550, things are way different. First of all, we have a rear window that opens up in a very useful fashion, so you can just pick things up and take things out. The Land Cruiser, thankfully, also does this. The only other GX to do this was the 460 right before this. You can also see we have a power tailgate. It also has a hands-free function. Oh, I don't have the key on me. That's why. Okay, but what? What? Why? Oh.
Damn, it feels good to be a gangster.
Okay, you have to make sure that the rear window is closed. I don't have the key on me anyway, but you can see this has a power tailgate. That's more like it. Things have thankfully improved back here. As you can see, this Overtrail trim doesn't have a third row, so you actually get more space because you don't have to deal with the third row gobbledygook that takes up about 5 or 6 cubic feet of volume. Back here, this has just about 45.5 cubic feet of volume, and if you drop the second row seat down and it folds pretty much out of the way, you get 90 cubic feet of volume, rather than only about 75 cubic feet of volume with a 3-row 550. You also have a 120 volt power outlet that thankfully is 3 prongs, so I can edit back here as well. In terms of towing, the GX 550 in this Overtrail Plus configuration is rated to tow an impressive 9,000 pounds. In addition to that, to tow that extra weight, thankfully Lexus provides us with a built-in trailer brake controller. As we hop inside, thankfully, compared to the GX 460, you'll see that space does improve a bit back here. Of course, this seat is in its easy exit mode, and I'm 5'9". You can see even with this seat all the way back in its tracks, I have good legroom. There's indents in the back side of the front seats. There's also pretty good headroom as well. Even though you could get a third row in a GX 550, the second row doesn't slide. It only reclines, thankfully. Reclines pretty far back, and it goes forward. That's also the same lever you use to fold the seat, and it's a 60-40 split seat. There's also an armrest in the center. It's pretty soft. There's also 2 reasonably sized cup holders. In terms of other amenities, there isn't a third climate control zone in this $84,000 truck, but we do have air vents back here and heated rear seats. Thankfully, 3 stages of heated rear seats. There's also USB Type-C ports for the rear seat passengers as well. The seats themselves are also pretty comfortable. As you can see, it's Lexus's black and tan 2-tone interior. Again, the 2 outboard seats are heated, and also, if you want to feel like you have money and you don't want to look at the deer outside while you're in the woods, you have sunshades back here. Up front, because the 550 Overtrail is a little bit taller, you will have to climb in here if you're shorter, but thankfully Lexus provides us with many grab handles throughout the interior. Anyways, welcome to the interior of this new 550. First, I'll start with the key fob. This is the new, modern Lexus key fob. It has the lock, unlock, trunk release, and panic button. I hope you can see that, but it does also do remote start. So you have to click, click, and hold the lock button. Not all of them will do that, but some of them will do that. Because of the smart key, all we have to do to start this thing is keep this anywhere inside the car, put your foot on the brake, and press the start button to go. Because I want to see the off-roading just as much as you, I'm not going to go too in-depth with this interior, but there are a few things I wanted to talk about. First of all, the 3-spoke leather-wrapped steering wheel. Thankfully, it is heated, and heat goes all the way around the wheel. You can see that there's paddles on the backside of the steering wheel, and the headlights on this are automatic, as well as the windshield wipers, thankfully. As we look at the gauges, you can see they're fully digital in this GX 550. Thankfully, there's a decent amount of configuration for the gauges as well, but some of it has to tie into the infotainment screen. Now, while we're looking at that, this is the 14-inch touchscreen display from Lexus that they're currently using on pretty much everything Toyota and Lexus nowadays. Again, the only complaint that I would say I have is that it doesn't have a dedicated home screen, but again, I just use Apple CarPlay. This does wired and wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Thankfully, the screen has been pretty responsive. I haven't experienced any bugs or glitches. A lot of interesting stuff is actually in the vehicle section in the infotainment screen. I won't go over everything, but you can control the massaging seats. You can also see your tire pressure and also configure the driver assistance settings as well. Since we have this big screen though, it also has a 360 view camera when you put this in reverse with guidance lines that thankfully do steer with the wheel. There's so many cameras in this GX to make it very easy to go off-roading. Also, when you're in 4-low, different camera angles will show to make it even easier to crawl. And thankfully, that's stuff that we'll actually use today. Something that's still tied into the screen is the dual zone automatic climate control. As you can see, so you don't have to mess around with finding menus and such. There's a small climate menu, but nothing too crazy. And again, because this is the Overtrail Plus, these seats can also massage as well. Thankfully, I would say Lexus did a pretty good job on the seats. They've offered plenty of support, especially considering I've been driving this a lot more than some of the other cars I've had around here. Below the screen, you can see, thankfully, we have a volume knob, but that's all in terms of the audio. Everything else is in the screen. As we go down the console, we have the dial that selects the different drive modes, the multi-terrain select modes, and it also controls the crawl control. On the right of that, you can see 2 USB Type-C ports and a hidden car charger power outlet. Behind that, we have more controls for the 4-wheel drive system. This is the toggle for the transfer case. That also allows you to engage the center locking diff and the rear locking diff. We also have a wireless charger behind all that, and as for the center console, it's reasonably sized, but it also doubles as a cool box too. So when you have the AC on, it'll pump cold air in here to keep your beverages or sandwiches cold. Anyways, when you're looking at everything, things look good. There's plenty of storage in here, big cup holders, single pane moonroof in this one, even though Lexus says you can get a pano moonroof in the Overtrail Plus, but this one don't have it. I welcome you to the 550 driving experience for the second time. The first time I drove this, was in Texas when I was seeing this in Plano. Now we're seeing this on my home base, so I'm very happy. As you can see, the engine for the most part is pretty quiet. It's not intrusive. The V8 wasn't loud at all either. So thankfully they've kept sound quality for the interior in terms of engine noise to a low. It takes speed bumps pretty well, but one of the first things I noticed with this is it rides pretty firm even with these big tires, and it's not like I'm at 40 psi. This is at the psi this was dropped off with, like 35, and it does feel a little bit rough. It takes the bumps off the road much better than it takes bumps on the road though. We'll see this straight road here, and then I'll show you what the engine sounds like without sport. You can see like it gets up to speed quickly. That wasn't full throttle either, but it has plenty of get up and go for any situation that you'd need. The 10-speed shifts very smooth. You barely feel the shifts. It's actually very refined in terms of the powertrain. I quite like it. But you will notice its body-on-frame tendencies on bumps like that, though. It'll be jittery than something like a TX, and that's because it's body-on-frame. That's also something you have to take into consideration. Otherwise, for being a body-on-frame truck, though, it rides pretty good. It's smooth. It actually has pretty responsive steering. It's been pleasant to drive. It doesn't feel like it's too big. Wind noise is noticeable. It's not too bad though, but it's because the shape of this and the shape of the mirrors. It's just a bunch of box everywhere. But it's not too bad. On the highway, especially once you have your music going or even a quiet podcast, it's very soothing. Especially you have the massaging seat. It was great. Yesterday was the day I went off-roading. I don't know if you're gonna see this or the off-roading before, but the combination of all the driver assistance features and also the massaging seat made it very nice to drive home. The brake pedal thankfully has a nice feel to it. Unlike the older GXs, this doesn't feel spongy. Thankfully, there's more of an initial bite that you would expect or want from a car. The car tells me if I'm going to rear-end someone, as you would expect. Thankfully, this has all the gizmos and doodads that you'd want, like the blind spot monitor and things, but unfortunately, we're stuck behind these NPCs, as usual. Thankfully, these specific Toyo all-terrain tires don't make too much noise, but I feel like road noise wouldn't be too bad even if you had a knobbier tire on this, because the sound deadening just in general is quite good. I'm actually gonna make a U-turn because I cannot tolerate all this nonsense. This is an illegal U-turn, so ignore what I'm doing. Plenty of power. And it handles well. You see, this is like a pretty quicker corner, and it doesn't have too much body roll like the older GXs. The brakes feel good, goes around corners very confidently nowadays. It does not feel like the old 470, that's for sure. I'll go into sport. You can hear it makes a difference. We can get on the highway real quick and see how it is. But again, because this is a body-on-frame SUV that's not for cornering, be careful if you're driving it quickly, because you can probably go into a corner faster than you think you should with a lot of these newer SUVs. But I'll slow down to under highway speeds while I'm merging still. It's good power. It's good. 3.5 twin turbo V6. It's great. You know, you really don't feel the speed at all either. You can cruise in comfort mode. That's what I'm gonna do. You'll notice the steering gets lighter. The throttle response also gets lighter. The whole car feels way easier to drive. You can see on the highway right now, wind noise. I mean, I'm going quickly, but wind noise isn't terrible if you're used to trucks. Of course, if you're coming from something like a Lexus RX, you will notice the increased wind noise, but it's not too bad. It's actually quite nice. The ride is quite smooth on the highway. Thankfully, this thing really chewed up highway miles yesterday. We can try real quick the lane keep assist and adaptive cruise control so I can show you how good it is. It actually did work pretty well. You can kind of more mindlessly drive this. Like right now, you know, hands. You will have to keep, see, the guy cut me off and the car slows down. You see? It's great. The car slows down and then it will speed up. This also, that reminds me, these newer Lexuses and Toyotas have something called proactive driving assist, which essentially does all this, but even when you're not in cruise control, the car will kind of, if you're an idiot and you can't drive, this will help you. It'll prevent you from hitting people. If someone cuts you off, it'll actually notice that and warn you and or correct it if there is an open gap. So it's actually quite smart how it does it, and it makes driving very easy. One thing about driving this on your own accord on the highway is because this is a traditional SUV, you'll notice compared to an RX or something, the steering will be maybe a little bit vaguer, but it's not too bad. I mean, for me, it's nothing because I'm used to SUVs that, like, if you do this, like, they do nothing, but clearly you can see that it's responding to my inputs. But this drives really good on the road. But enough of me talking about how this is on the road. Thankfully, it is good. I know most of the time people will drive these on the road, so that's why it is important to bring it up. But let's go off-road, baby! Let's go off-road!
I love what you do for me, Toyota. I love how you set me free, Toyota.
Toyota's new four-wheel drive, four-door 4Runner for 1990. Space, luxury, and V6 power. Where you go is your concern. Getting you back is ours.
So we are on our main field trip for our time with the GX 550. We're back at Flagpole Knob. It's an off-road trail in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia, just under 3 hours from my house. Of course, I took the Pilot Trail Sport there, but that's one hell of a crossover. We also took the Tundra TRD Pro there, but those 2 times we went down the trail using the Flagpole Knob way. This time I'm on the Union Springs side, so we'll go east to west this time instead of west to east. So it will be more of a challenge going up the trail, but just like what Toyota's been saying about their trucks for over 40 years, it's my job to get this thing here, but it's the truck's job to get me back. So let's see what happens today, and it's gonna be great. Let's do it! So this is our first obstacle. This, if you remember, I had the Pilot Trail Sport. I tried to go up it, and these rocks are just too sheer for the Pilot. The Tundra went up it, but now you can see we're going down it. The GX is all the way up there. We're gonna go straight down, and then the thing should really just walk itself down. I'm not gonna use hill descent control quite yet. I'll show you a little bit later, but we have clearly a ways to go. The beauty of 4Low with the GX is that it gives you even more camera angles. Even though I have this protruding hood, I can still pretty much see. We're just gonna have to crawl now. So I really can't see anything. I can see the camera. I'm using the line that I showed you to the best of my abilities, at least. Okay, I'm gonna drop. It's just steps, pretty much. Oof, ow. That's why you have skid plate and the rocker. Okay, almost. This is the next drop here. It is quite dry, so I will slip, of course. But you see the terrain and you're like, where is this gonna go? And it just does it. I mean, there's plenty more, but I feel good that I conquered this already. So we're coming up onto the next obstacle for the 550. As you can see, these are these 2 other staircase type rocks. I went up this with the Pilot and the Tundra again, just down this, and then I'll straddle it, and then it'll walk its way down. Just recently, actually, it seems like people built a man-made offshoot, so you can avoid this if you don't want to, but we're going to go down this way, of course. Okay, so I wanted to double check my line. I'm gonna adjust myself again. Thankfully, that camera helps tenfold. Okay, so this is about the line I'd like to take. We're going to descend starting pretty soon. Okay. Wow, It's crazy. It's just unfazed. So the rear is gonna come down in just a moment. So nice. Thankfully we have good departure angle. So you really don't have to worry. It's fabulous. It really is. It's so confidence inspiring. So we are at the next obstacle. This one is a bit of a rocky, slippery, not really staircase, but it's just a bit of an incline. So the key to this obstacle, because we have quite a good approach angle, I'm going to straddle right here with the passenger side tire. So I have enough room from here. You can see people have kissed this, this tree. And then because I have the approach on this side, I can just creep right up. Again, I'm going to use the camera. Makes it very useful. Okay, so this is the line I'd like to take. Wow. I'm not using lockers or anything. Wow. 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 So I'm probably going to go up again. Just barely squeezed right past it. That's crazy. So between the last obstacle and where we are right now, it's just pretty rocky, and there are some mud pits as you could have seen, but this is the next obstacle. It looks pretty steep. If you have open diffs and, limited clearance, you're not gonna make it up this. There is thankfully another offshoot right here that you could go around it, but again, we're gonna go up it. So as I line up here, I'm gonna try to maintain that line that I showed you. The cameras make it quite helpful. Yeah, because like right now, I don't see anything. Wow. Wow. That's crazy. It really just walks up anything you throw at it. That's Toyota. So I wanted to demonstrate downhill assist. I am out of breath, sorry, because all the way up there, oh, I had to run. Oh, the lights came on, I'm blinding you. But I'm gonna turn on downhill assist control since I'm in 4 low. All you have to hit is DAC, downhill assist, and then you just take your foot off the brake. This is the slowest speed. There's like 5 speeds. Oop. Yeah, 5. I'll do number 2. It's very smooth. It's very sophisticated. Doesn't make any weird noises. It's so much better than some of the BS downhill assist control systems I've seen. It also takes bumps very well. You can see it'll get rockier, so I'll slow down a bit for some more control. I'm also using the camera inside. Keeps this thing so controlled. It's a little bit too slow. Even though maybe the rocks don't look too big on camera, they're big in person. But right now, feels like I'm just on speed bumps. It's so controlled. And I can slow down a little more. I'll slow down a little more so I don't smack my bottom. This is a bit of a step. So this time I'm gonna do it myself, and then the next time I'll show how MTS does it. So I'm gonna take the more left line, of course, because it gets sheer up there. So what I'd like is the tire to go up this rock here. Good approach. Turn. Oh yeah? Okay. Wow. And then snake. Wow. Wow. Barely slips. This thing, man. Wow. I love having a good approach angle, but as you would expect, because I'm in 4-low, so much control. So much control. These are the snaky bits that we went down with the Tundra and also the Pilot. This time, let me show you how crawl control works. And I don't have anything engaged, just I'm in 4-low. You see how it bites? That's crazy. Barely slipped. Okay, so I've turned off crawl control because it makes it too easy. I don't need it. Another snaky part. I haven't locked it yet. Nice. In this near week with the GX 550, I certainly have no complaints on my behalf. I knew it would conquer Flagpole with relative ease. If you have a GX 550, let me know in the comments what you've thought about it so far. I actually quite like it and I condone the purchase. This is still a V6 that gets V8 gas mileage because I've been getting about 12 to 13 in town and 17 to 18 on the highway. Otherwise, just like all GXs, this is a solid rig. If you want a body-on-frame SUV that'll take you anywhere, that offers a comfortable interior, a powerful V6 powertrain, and looks that make you break your neck, the GX is definitely for you. Enough of me rambling though. I hope you all enjoyed this 550 experience. I know I certainly did. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe for many more videos just like this, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye, peeps.